The very opening adagio has got this really almost ugly, pugnacious quality to it, driving us to the next jarring forte.
No one can doubt his genius, but he was always in ferment. His ideas were too frequently in a state of flux.
They lack that sense of unity, that clarity and directness of presentation,
which we rightly admire in the works of, for example, Mr. Haydn. Yes, Herr Mozart has a decided leaning towards the difficult and unusual.
Perhaps one might say his music was too highly seasoned.
Well, the critics missed the point. The opening may be difficult and unusual, but here's this charming allegro section which follows it, which wouldn't have half the potency it does had it not been preceded by that jarring opening material. Such a key for Mozart, this, that you put two characters side by side, and it's all about the particular oil they give off when they're applied to each other. There's something I love so much about Mozart. He's so human. He totally understood that you can't have joy without pain, terror without consolation, love without grief.
One of the last things he told us that night was how bitterly he regretted leaving us, his wife and children, without being properly provided for. Why now? He asked me. Why do I have to go now? When I'm no longer a slave to fashion, no longer chained by speculators, when I can compose freely and independently whatever my heart dictates.
I think of the kind of frilly, somewhat prissy portraits of Mozart that I was shown when I was a child, and always heard that little sonata in C major. And somehow the character of Mozart came across as very proper, lots of lace, very kind to his sister and his father and to small animals, and very, very harmless. Of course, the real Wolfgang Mozart had many, many more sides than that. You can get into a lot of trouble playing this piece. You find yourself in the trouble of perhaps being in the wrong key, the wrong place at the wrong time, with dark, scary chords like this one. Music for worrying to. When you can't sleep, you've had a little too much bourbon before bedtime.
The industry wants you to believe that Mozart is a superficial, sentimentalized, nostalgic, courtly entertainer. But that's the exact opposite of what he spent his whole life doing. He was trying to express the full range of human expression, ambiguities, doubts. He confronts us with all of that in our essential humanity. And all of this is a betrayal.
But it's not the numbers that excite violinist Nicola Benedetti, it's the wildness of that solo part, the different characters he's creating in just a few seconds of music.
To me, it sounds like so much enjoyment in his ability to create these voices. He's just toying with the listener, with him. He's constantly working out, how can I make this as varied as possible, as expressive as possible, and enjoying it. You can sense the kind of almost euphoria. And I answer. So it's the same material, but mine is instantly feminine, and then again low, and then. It's really very extreme.
You couldn't play this like like nicely. It can't be nice.
Some do. I just don't ever hear Mozart like that ever. I just don't. I don't hear it in his voice. I don't hear it in his character. There's too much natural wildness, and I think Mozart with caution is just not doing him justice.
A work of utmost passion, utterly controlled, and of free chromaticism, elegantly contained. Chromatic wandering on the top, but firmly supported by the tonic dominant structure underneath. And you see now what I meant by the beauty of ambiguity. It's the combination of those two contradictory forces, chromaticism and diatonicism, operating at the same time, that makes this passage so expressive. And all hell breaks loose. Do you realize that that wild atonal sounding passage contains every one of the 12 chromatic tones except the tonic G? It could easily pass for 20th century music if we didn't already know it was Mozart.